Bulare. First of all, I'd like to pay my homage to Turangani Bunivalu, Dreketi, and Randini. Thank you for all you do. The principal, assistant and vice principal, the pastors, parents, teachers, and all who are here this morning. Thank you for the invite and the warm welcome to be part of this momentous occasion. I also wish to say thank you for the morning. It was very heartening to see the cultures blend and the different items that were performed this morning. Like the principal shared, I was reading through how the Dreketi Central was built. And I have to pay tribute to the visionaries in this area who thought about building this school about 50 years ago in smaller structures until it came about in 1965, like you said. And that was a vision to ensure that the children of this area had easier access to education. I read that people of different faith and ethnicities came together to fulfill the vision. So the current schools that were mentioned, the feeder schools, can have a secondary school close by instead of students having to travel to Lambasa or Suva to gain secondary education. Also, it has been hugely beneficial for girls because normally when schools are far, it's generally the girls who miss out. So I wish to pay my tribute to the founders for the vision, all the founding members who've contributed to slowly building this facility that has grown so large over time and is still building, and has produced very successful individuals, including, like you mentioned, the DPM Honorable Prasad, but I know there are so many more that you discussed. Very heartening to see what you shared about the school providing a very holistic education for overall growth. And I thank the principal for your very inspirational vision. As you presented the report, you talked a lot about how to remain modern, even though that the distance and the rural area that shouldn't matter. And I admire your vision. And I thank the teachers and the principal for their hard work, parents for their sacrifices, for making this year happen. To support the parents, the next year again, the government has allocated the grant for school preparation to help parents in the new year. Students, I wanted to share a bit of history today about the school, like the principal has shared, just to remind us that education wasn't so easily accessible in the days gone by, especially in this area, which has been not very well connected to urban centers. Your forefathers struggled to get to faraway places to get education. And when our forefathers came to this land, they knew that we could change the destination only through education. And many religious leaders and different faiths took it upon themselves through great sacrifices, through cooperation and through very meager income in those days, to fundraise and build structures to educate our children for a new future. And we must pay our homage and remember that, and appreciate in how grateful we are that we have an education system that's accessible to all. 80% of all schools around the country are built by communities and faith groups and managed by them. I heard the principal talk about holistic education and the importance of remaining, being holistic to be able to fit into the workforce. I personally think education in a rural setting is very, very special. In a rural setting, it provides holistic skills for problem solving that is greatly useful in later in life. You may not realize, but running and collecting firewood, helping in the community chores, When we are in the village and we are told to do things, we may resent it at that time, but it's so many people in a village who educate us. Little things that different elders share with us and how to improve the little things that we do actually helps us excel in later life. And that becomes the soft skills needed in our professional world. It helps in decision making in the real world. When something happens and you have to fix things using things that are not normal, like you may use a tire or a timber, it helps us to think, to improvise, to be able to solve problems. So growing up in a rural area is extremely special, and you are able to spend a large part of your life here because there's a secondary school here now. And in a rural community, we are in a cocoon of care, and of whole communities look after each other. And I was asking the principal how the care and concern is here, and it's such a joy. And I've been to this area many times. We've done some organic farm work up in the hills in this area. To see the connectivity and the care and concern in each other is really, really wonderful to see. To students who are graduating, I know once you graduate here and move to Lambasa and Suva, you will find many exposure, or rather exposure to many elements. Some very good things will happen, some bad, some peer pressure, and there'll be times when you'll feel alone and maybe not loved. Too often I meet youths in Suva who are depressed, overwhelmed with emotions because they didn't prepare to deal with difficult situations. And I want to acknowledge the words of wisdom shared by Pastor this morning about difficulties, but also the principle shared that success doesn't just happen, there are bound to be ups and downs. And we believe, Pastor talked about God's purpose. Each one of us, when we were born, we were given a purpose. We came here for a purpose. So no matter how difficult life gets, remember that there is a purpose. And you have to go through difficult situations to learn the lessons needed for us to fulfill our purpose. And it's important to have some toolkits for stress management. Some of you play beautifully, instruments, sing. Keep some of these to help with your stress management. I personally meditate. Some people do diary writing. Diary writing is really useful when you can't talk to somebody. Write down. Because these mechanisms will help you in the stress when sometimes things look really, really difficult. When you're faced with peer pressure, you may feel in order to fit in, you have to follow what everybody else is doing. And one of the common things we were talking earlier this morning was, drinking and drugs are very readily available, and I'm told it's even available here. Now, if any of you have, and I will not put you on the spot and ask, but if any of you have taken a puff of cigarette or had a drink or a drug, first bite, first sip, whatever is, I'm told, absolutely awful. And nobody likes it in the first go. But we will keep doing it to please others, and slowly it takes over our lives. So initially, our parents and teachers have taught us well to know what's right and what's wrong. And when we know if we're doing something wrong and our conscience tells us, we need to listen to that, because it depends on that, how we manage our lives, that how successful we will be in life. For the students who are leaving, there's a lot of hopes going with you. And I know it's not easy. Many of you will be traveling to Lambasa, some to mainland. You'll be going away from your family and friends. And you need the internal faith and strength to be able to carry you through. And whatever you do as you carry on with life, learn to be kind and considerate. And we all know we have a duty to humanity in this world. Do good things without expecting returns or expecting recognition. School is a great field of experiments and cultures, and I must say that I was told when I was reading about the school that the first timber was donated by the villagers to start building. You know, so many different cultures came together, and this morning it's very evident that you are able to learn about each other's culture and diversity. And that's the dream principle spoke about, that we hope we can model the true spirit of diversity in this country, and it's very evident here. For the teachers, I know the responsibility of looking after children is not easy. You're not only their teachers, but their role models. Your thoughts are relayed through their actions to the children. And this age in the school is the most impressionable. The children look for role models, and when you talk to anybody, they talk about how a teacher has had a good impression on them or an awful impression. So everything that teachers do, and it's a lot of pressure, that's how the children learn. Our Prime Minister told us in the first caucus, and he reminds us every time when he meets, that it's important to lead whatever you do with kindness and compassion, to take the higher route, not get carried away by gossip and mudslinging, and lead for the nation building. And I ask the teachers and the elders in the school to do the same. I often hear people say, what legacy you want to leave behind, and people talk about projects and buildings. But I always think that the legacy you behind is the investment we do in our children. And investment means investment of values. How the children think, when we train them to think correctly, do the right thing, those are the things that the values you teach, they will be teaching their children and their grandchildren. So the values that we leave in our children are the ones that last forever. That's the legacy of the teachers and the parents. And I ask the parents that during the school holidays, it's important to spend some quality time with your children. I know we get carried away with a lot of gadgets around us today. But that's the time when we are able to inculcate the values of the village, values of our whole family, the skills of the whole family, because before we know it, the children are out of our nests. So I'd like to honor the teachers and honor the parents who have worked hard to help the students get here. And to the students, trust me, this is the best part of your life. When you grow up, then we really remember and memorize and think how good school life was, even though at that time it may not be, that pleasant sometimes. So for the rest of the classes who are not graduating and leaving this year, to you, I hope everything that the principal has been visioning for you comes to light. You already have a very modern education facility, and you are very up to par with what the rest of the world is doing. And to the graduating students, you know that with you goes the hope and the love of the Vanua, and with you stays the hope for nation building. So we wish you well, and we wish a lot of love, prosperity, and growth for this school and for the Vanua. And with that, once again, I express my gratitude for having me here today. Namaskar.